You're listening to the Fezcast, the Saracens fans podcast, bringing you the independent and unhinged views of the voices in our heads, as well as those of our special guests. To get in touch with us, find the Fezcast on social media and listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube and more. Thanks for tuning in and enjoy this week's show.
You're listening to the Fezcast.
Well, hello and welcome along to episode 4, season 6 of the Fezcast. You've all come here, obviously, to listen to Matt and I chat about the rugby at the weekend just past. There might be an interview with someone at the back end of this show. I really can't. I can't even remember who it is. But evening, Matt. How are you doing?
Yeah, some bloke called Mark, isn't it? I don't know who he is, but yeah, no, I'm all good, mate. I'm very glad you're hosting today because my brain has turned to mashed potato after a very long day. So I'll be making as much sense as I normally do, just in the second chair, which is good.
Well, I'm glad to have the role of nonsense in chief. That's probably fair description of me. So what we're going to do, we'll run through things in the order that they happened last weekend. So we'll start off with Saracens men at home on Friday night in the Prem Cup. A rather disappointing 34-49 defeat to Northampton. We're often accused on here of being a little bit too positive, I think. So we'll get the positive points out of the way early. I thought the cheese and onion pasties have held up well over the summer. They were nice again. But Matt, there were a couple of standout players for us. Max Malins and Charlie Bracken, I thought, for me. Anyone else to add into that for you?
Yeah, well, I suppose kind of linked to that. Rotimi Shegan, I thought, had a good, certainly a good first half, and in particular his linking up with Max Malins. I thought the two of them injected quite a bit into the attack, and I did think some people have sort of said that we scored some maybe slightly fortuitous tries, intercepts, and things, but I do think our attack actually functioned better than it has done a lot last season. So there's positives to take from it. Youngsters out there getting good minutes. Yeah, ultimately the result wasn't that good, but there are some good moments for sure.
Yeah, there were. I mean, Max's outside of the boot chip over the top for Rotti's first try was absolutely brilliant. And, you know, if that had been on television, I think we'd be talking about it for a long time. But a great piece of skill. And it was great to see Max get a try as well. He's clearly back to his best. And I thought Charlie had a good game as well, to be fair.
Yes.
He really did try and inject pace into our ball, and even when it wasn't really there, he was looking to try and get the ball away quickly. But there were some worrying signs. Scrum, 57% scrum success, and obviously at Maul again. It's sort of last week against Tigers we conceded 3 rolling Maul tries, and we started very quickly again with that on Friday, conceding one to Callum Chick, who was making his debut, captain of the club, and got a hat-trick. I should imagine he's had worse introductions to it. But there's definitely some defensive stuff for us to work on this week, I think. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, set-piece defence did seem to struggle a little bit. I mean, some of the scrums, I guess we can give a little bit of leeway to. I think we had Alex O'Driscoll come on for his debut at Loosehead. He's very fresh, very green into rugby, and was coming up against a fairly reasonable Northampton pack. I think Elliot Miller-Mills was probably his counterpart on the other side, unless he came on before Trevor Davison came on. So he had a big challenge there. More worrying, I suppose, is the fact that 2 of our new signings, both tight heads, Marcus Street and Titi Tuamalga, didn't look to be functioning particularly well. I think the problem was on their side quite a lot with the scrum. So, bits to work on. But it is just one game. But yes, Rob Webber worked his magic a bit last season, so hopefully he can do so with a bit more time with these guys.
Yeah, I'm sure that Chetty Tuamaga will improve. He's about the right age to make those improvements as a prop. Really, at 30, I was surprised actually. I thought he was younger than that. I've just looked it up. He's 31, so he's the perfect age to improve and grow into his role. I guess that's our Prem Cup season over, really, isn't it? I don't think there's any way we can qualify having lost the first two, is there?
It's tricky because there are more games, there are slightly more fixtures, so I think there is a shot, especially if teams do beat each other a little bit. It's going to be quite interesting to see because Newcastle are in our we do play Newcastle, and I think I was going to say they're playing at full strength in this cup, where when they started the cup they were playing at full strength because they've got a squad of 23 basically. Yeah. But as we go along through the season, they're obviously adding more and more players, including today I think Liam Williams joining them. So who knows what kind of team they'll put out, and whether I think they've beaten the Harlequins already, potentially one other team, and so yeah, it'd be interesting to see what we do against them. But I think there is a shot. But yes, I would like to see us win the Prem Cup, but in a way, the results are fairly secondary. We want to see the development of young players, squad players getting minutes, particularly it's effectively pre-season matches. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, of course, we only had the one true pre-season match against the Hollywood Bet Sharks, 4th 15, and some bloke they cobbled together from the car park duty or whatever it was. I think it was to say that was a scratch side would be an understatement.
Yeah, it was a very small scratch, wasn't it?
But anyway, on to Saturday, and the Red Roses managed to get through against France. I didn't see much of the game, I must admit. I've only seen the last sort of 10 minutes and the highlights that are on the various sites today. Was that a case of England blowing chances, or was it a case of France really stepping up and having their best game of the tournament, do you think?
A classic fence sitting from me, I think, is a bit of both. I think the England players will be first bunch to say that, yeah, they didn't play brilliantly, certainly for the first half. But I think you still have to give credit to France, who were, they had to do something slightly different to try and beat us. And the way they were playing at the breakdown, going through, huge swings between committing 5 players to each breakdown to then not committing any at all, keeping England second guessing. I think, that they did play very well there. England's defence, by and large, was pretty good, but it was a bit worrying that France were able to sort of batter down the door for a while and then spread it out wide and find a huge amount of gaps. Yeah, we didn't play brilliantly, but
no, it was noticeable. A couple of, I think 3 of the French tries, or a couple of them, they managed to narrow us up in defence by sort of constantly going pick and go, and then spotting the space and getting it out wide quickly. But by which time we were sort of far too narrow, and it was a relatively easy stroll in for the player on the end of it. Got to have a special word for Ellie Kildun, though. A couple of great tries, especially that second one of hers. Absolute brilliant piece of opportunism when the ball rebounded to her, picked it up and ran past what looked like about half of France. But as Jez said in our WhatsApp chat, Jess Breach would have been awfully annoyed if she hadn't actually scored that try, because she had the chance to put her in away down the left-hand side, and she was galloping in under the post then, wasn't she?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if she's annoyed anyway, to be honest, because I don't think she was enjoying the game particularly, Jess. It was difficult for her out wide, and yeah, that was her one moment to actually make a real positive impact on the game, and she got ignored by her best mates. So, yeah, not good. But I think you have to look at where England's strengths are. And at the moment in international rugby, we can bring 8 players off the bench who could easily be starting. And we're probably the only nation at that World Cup that can do that, which is why in the last 20, 25 minutes of the game, we don't concede any points and we go on to score a few tries. You don't want that to be the reason you win a game, because it certainly will make me tear my hair out when I go to the final on Saturday. But it is a strength that we've got. The worry I suppose, is the way that France scored their tries out wide. That is Canada's big strength. They've scored a lot of tries through their wingers, a couple of which we know very well as Saracens fans. But have Canada got the grunt up front that France had? That's potentially the difference. They've got Sophie de Goede, but have they got 14 other players that can do that?
Yeah, Sophie de Goede has been probably one of the standout, which has been one of the standout players of the tournament, definitely, if not the player of the tournament so far. I suspect if she ends up with a silver medal on Saturday, she probably won't get that the plaudits that she deserves. But yeah, you're right. They're going to need some other players around her. As good as she is, she's not going to be able to carry the entire game to England on her own. She's going to need help, and if it turns into a battle, I think you're going to favour us. England, for me, England needed that real test that they got on at the weekend, and I think and hope they'll be better for it. And obviously, we'll all be glued to I'll be glued to my television. You'll be glued to the queues at Twickenham.
Oh, yeah, I'll be glued to a pint, I think.
Good luck paying for it. That's all I can say.
Yes, no, it should be a really good occasion regardless. Yeah, a third place game and Saracens A against Saracens B in the final will be quite nice, won't it?
Yeah, I'm sure it'll be a cracking day out, and a completely sold out Twickenham. I think I read somewhere they could have sold it twice, which is obviously impressive for the game and something that they needed, having not had any games at Twickenham, and England haven't even played in London yet at all. It'll be a great occasion, and let's hope that England can finish it off and slay some nightmares from that final in New Zealand 3 years ago.
Yeah, fingers crossed that wasn't fun, was it?
Yeah, absolutely. So on to Saracens women, but before we get on to Saracens women, we must congratulate Leanne Infante and her husband Matt on the birth of their daughter Riley last Tuesday, I believe it was, according to Instagram. Possibly the only child who's going to grow up and never be able to use her mother's maiden name as her password in her online banking, but never mind. We believe mother and baby are doing well, and we look forward to seeing them at the StoneX very soon. But Matt, you were at the game on Sunday, quite comprehensive 68-7 victory over Leicester Tigers, and booking our place in the semi-final, where I think we're going to play Exeter at home. I think the date for that is out. Is it October the 5th or something like that?
It's certainly that weekend. Yep, 5th of October.
Excellent. And after the game, you caught up with a rather tired-sounding Amelia MacDougall. So let's have a listen to that first of all.
You're listening to the Fezcast.
Hi, Alex Osterbury here, Director of Rugby for Saracens Women. You're listening to the Saracens Fezcast.
This is the Fezcast.
Welcome to our first post-match interview of the new season, off the back of a 68-7 win in the PWR Cup over Leicester. Delighted to be joined by Amelia MacDougall. How are you doing? You all right?
Yeah, I'm good. A bit tired.
Tired?
Yeah, good.
Unsurprising, marshalling the game at 10, but a comfortable win in the end. Pleased with the performance overall from the team?
Yeah, I think there was some good bits that we can take away from the game, but yeah, I think we left quite a lot out there, especially around our breakdowns. We weren't good enough. Definitely got up it for our semi-final at home in a few weeks' time. But yeah, it's not a bad scoreline, to be honest.
Yeah. But no, I think that's totally fair. I know people would look at the scoreline and go, yeah, that's on paper, great win, but you're probably right. We left plenty out there as well. But for yourself, I think that was 9 out of 10 from the tee as well.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, it's probably my best kicking match that I've had off the tee. So yeah, not bad.
Yeah, and they didn't make it entirely easy for you. There were plenty from the touchline as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
all good. But the Cup campaign as a whole, that's 100% record and into the semi-final. So overall, as a team that's missing, I think it's 19 players for the World Cup, you've got to be pleased with how it's gone so far.
Yeah, it's been a good Cup campaign so far, but I think we've still got so much to build on. We know we can play better rugby than we have been playing, even though we've got wins. We've not been at our best, I would say. So yeah, we've got a training session on Tuesday that we'll go into, and then into match week next week, and got a lot of focuses on us, because that's what we've got to do going into Exeter.
No, that's fair enough. Well, let's talk about yourself a little bit. In fact, I'll tell you what, I think you're probably the first player we've spoken to that's come through the Oakland's college system and into the Saracens squad. Just tell us a little bit about how that's worked for you and the support that you've had coming up through as a teenager and onwards.
Yeah, so I was at Oakland's for 2 years, and I was at the same time playing for the academy, so the COB, which I don't think is around anymore. But yeah, I just been at Sarries pretty much my whole life, because I was at the amateur setup in Southgate. So yeah, I just was at Oakland's, spoke to Lewis about coming to Sarries when I turned 18. And yeah, I just came in as an 18-year-old and kind of got thrown in the deep end, having to play Prem then when I was 18. But no, it's been good. I've learned a lot. Obviously, being in a club with so many internationals, you're definitely going to learn. And as a fly half, you've got to pick up things pretty quickly. So yeah, I'm at the best club to learn and to get better, and that's all I want to do, really.
That's fair enough. Well, you mentioned being chucked in the deep end, which was absolutely right. You came flying into the squad and had to play 10 with Zoe Harrison injured, but picked up a winner's medal in the Cup in your first season as well. So it's been a pretty quick introduction to the squad for you. But what's been your favourite sort of memory in those 3 years in the main squad?
I would say that Cup win is definitely up there. Yeah, that was pretty cool in your first season to win some silverware is pretty nice. But I'd also say an individual game, which I didn't really play a lot of minutes, but was a big game to win, was Gloucester at home. I think maybe last season or the season before last season. Yeah, they hadn't lost them. To make them lose a game at home was like in the last minute was pretty cool. And I wasn't meant to play that game, but then somehow got onto the bench and then yeah, to be on the pitch at the end of that match was pretty fun.
That's fair. Well, I mean, you really have taken your opportunities when you've been given them. So we've got Zoe Harrison in the squad, who, let's face it, she is the England fly half. It's her position that you're competing for. How has that been for you? Obviously, you know that you have got some work to do in behind her, but presumably you're learning plenty off of her as you go along as well.
Yeah, exactly. I know that I'm still young and I've still got so much to learn. And it's not just, you're not just going to take the shirt off Zoe that easily. So yeah, competing with her, training with her, I've learned so much, especially in the last season where I didn't really play that much, but just learning off her from training, yeah, has helped me. And hopefully in the next couple of seasons, that gap will start to close and I'll get better and hopefully one day take the shirt off, but I don't think it's anytime soon. But I just need to keep learning, keep getting better and see what happens.
That's fair enough. We've been playing England under 20s as well, I believe. So that's the progress is there, sure.
Yeah, 20s has been good. I actually played a game at 9, which was pretty interesting one. But yeah, 20s has been good for my development and for that leadership role, speaking more, getting more confidence in myself. And then I've brought that into this Cup campaign.
Fair enough. Obviously, from team perspective, the aim is to win the PWR Cup and then win the league at the end of the season as well. But from a personal point of view, have you set yourself any goals for this year, or is it just to continue developing as you are, get more minutes, get more game time?
I would say, yeah, just to keep learning. Obviously, I'm still young, and at fly half, like I said, you've got to learn a lot. You've got to learn a lot about the players you're playing with as well. You've got to earn their trust and respect. So yeah, keep getting minutes, keep getting those connections with the people that I need to get with, and then yeah, get into the 20 setup again. Hopefully, push on with that, and yeah, just get a few more minutes, but just keep learning is the main thing.
Onwards and upwards. I'm assuming you've got a weekend off next week to watch the World Cup final as well.
Yeah, and I'll be there.
Excellent. Yeah. Oh, me too. But then onto the meat of the PWR semi-final. Fairly, although I know you've said that there's things to improve on. Fairly confident going into that yet, or?
I mean, you've got to have confidence. You've got to think you're going to go out there and win it. We know Exeter are going to be a physical team. We actually played them in the semi-final the last time the Cup was about at home, so that would be pretty interesting if we can win again against them. But yeah, we know they're going to be physical, so we've got to front up as well. But yeah, definitely not going to be easy. They're going to bring a lot to that game, so yeah, we've got to be at our best for that.
Excellent. Well, final question. This is an audio-only podcast, but so no one can see this, but a couple of shark tattoos. What's the story behind those? And is that a snake down there as well?
I've got a few.
Go on then, what's the story? Let's go.
They're pretty generic, really. The Sharks are just about keep moving forward. Yeah, it's pretty generic. And then just 1111 was for, it's just like an angel number. So it's just,
Okay.
yeah, about, not manifestation, that's not the word, but kind of like wishing and that kind of thing. And then the snakes are just for, well, snake is just for the look of it. But I've got one behind my ear.
Behind your ear, I can't see that one. One there as well.
Yeah, got a few.
More?
Not that my mum can know of.
Oh dear. Well, on that note, just to know, that means you've not got any plans to join Sale Sharks anytime soon. That's probably what people wanted to.
No.
But, yeah. I better leave it there because I know I'm going to get you in trouble eventually. But Amelia, thank you very much for joining us. Really appreciate it. We're looking forward to seeing you in the semi-final and onwards and for the rest of the season.
Thank you very much. Thanks.
Take care. Done.
Hi, this is Petrus Duplessis, and you are listening to the Fezcast.
This is the Fezcast.
Great to hear from Amelia there. A girl very much with her feet on the ground, I think, and complete realisation that she's going to have to work very hard to get that shirt off of Zoe Harrison, particularly, obviously, as once Zoe comes back from England duty, hopefully with the World Cup winners' medal. And also great to have a link to the amateur club, the old amateur club at Bramley Road. We don't get to talk about them often enough on here, but there we are. She's a link back to them and a link through the pathway system. 10 tries to 1 kind of gives us an idea of the game, but how did you see it, Matt?
Yeah, it's certainly relatively one-sided. But Amelia was bang on, really. I think even standing there at 68-7, I mean, it shows the golfing class between the two sides, unfortunately, that we won 68-7, scored 10 tries to 1. And to be honest, we probably should have seen another 100-point score against Leicester, as we did in the middle of last season. It was very different. I mean, we did. There were a few comments actually about how strong a side we put out. There wasn't really any rotation, particularly in this cup fixture, despite us being relatively assured of the semi-final. Lewis Soames stuck with a relatively similar team and some players that will be playing plenty of league minutes, despite the fact that we've got 19 players away at the World Cup. Leicester competed really well at the breakdown and with their line out as well. But yeah, beyond that, they weren't able to offer an awful lot. Their one try in the game was one of the best tries of the match, for sure. But we scored plenty of good ones ourselves. And Amelia herself, 9 conversions out of 10 from the tee. She's clearly someone that shows very few nerves or far less nerves on the pitch than she did having to talk to me for some reason. I don't know what it is about having a chat with us, but there you go.
Yeah, it's noticeable actually. I think in the women's game generally how much the kicking has improved, and is still improving across the game. I mean, from Amelia's point of view, working with Zoe Harrison has got to be a massive help in that, and the guidance she must get from her is got to be massive. But yeah, we actually conceded more turnovers than Leicester in the game, which is a bit of a strange one when you look at the stats. When you kind of 10 tries to 1.
I've seen this kind of thing before, and it's exactly what usually happens. It's because we had the ball for 90% of the match. We're going to have it turned over, basically.
Okay.
But yeah, that's what I mean. They did compete very well at the breakdown, and they did turn us over. They turned over some quite strong-looking attacks. So that is the one thing to be said about their side. There was no giving up at any point, and they've got to be given credit. It's just we were a lot better. Simple as that.
Yeah, 470 metres to 228 attacking and 32 defenders beaten kind of gives you an idea that we were probably enjoying quite a lot of the possession. But yeah, all good so far for the women, and getting ready for the start of the PWR season, and obviously the home semi-final against Exeter. I couldn't work out who the other semi-final was. You picked that one?
I'll be honest, the guys in the media room had a calculator out to try and figure it out. I'm not even sure that they've got there yet. Harlequins is certainly one of them.
Okay.
And the reason for grabbing a calculator was the top seed. Let's assume that it's either us or Harlequins. The top seed of those two gets the home final. Because there are more games in one pool than the other. It's done on an average of points scored. And I think there is literally a decimal place between us and Harlequins in that regard. So at the moment, I don't know.
Oh, my word. It seems to be a bit of a trade secret, because even if you go on the PWR website, it's got the results, but they've got no idea of a table or any more than that.
It's not particularly well publicised, unfortunately, but yeah, it's us and Exeter and Harlequins. I think it's Bristol that they'll play in a semi-final, and yeah, us and the Harlequins are the two home teams, and yeah, still anyone's guess where the final ends up.
Hopefully it's a final in London either way round.
Well, yeah.
However it works out. Right. Well, I think we've made everyone wait long enough, haven't we? So, as you all know, Fezcast listeners, our very own intrepid roving reporter Jez was grateful to be invited along to the captain's run at the Stonex Stadium last Thursday ahead of the game against the Northampton Saints, where he caught up with Saracens Director of Rugby, Mark McCall. So let's have a listen to that.
Hey, it's Charlie Hodgson, and you are listening to the Fezcasts.
This is the Fezcast.
Well, here we are at Stonex Stadium on the Thursday before the club play their second game in the Prem Cup. Seeing captain's run training, and now I've sat down with Director of Rugby, someone who I've been wanting to speak to on the Fezcast for a long time. But welcome to the Fezcast, Mark McCall. How are you?
Good, thank you. Thanks for having me.
Well, absolutely. We've really been looking forward to it. I mean, could talk about last season to start with, very briefly, because I know we're all very forward-looking in the club and everything's ahead of us. But how did last season go for you? And what have you taken from last season that you're taking into this season?
It's always probably important to put a season into context. I think everybody knows that there was sort of significant change in playing personnel at the end of the season before that. That change had been going on for a while, really, since we came back in from the championship. And obviously coming back in from the championship, we got into 2 consecutive finals and lost one in the last minute and won the one after that. But slowly but surely, sort of that great team that had grown over a long period of time, it had started to change, really, and sort of significant change came at the end of the not last season, but the season before that. So we had a newish group with some old faces there as well. The average age of the squad was a lot younger. And what we know is when you're trying to turn talent into a team and trying to build a team for the long term, it takes some time. And last season was a little bit like that. There was glimpses of what was possible, which is exciting. It's a group where the ceiling's very high, I think, or can be high. But last year, I think we were probably too inconsistent during matches, from match to match. But sometimes that's part of the journey that you go on with a new team.
Well, undoubtedly so. I mean, something that we spotted in the Fezcast was from the season before. There seemed to be perhaps an issue around scrum time. So you brought in Rob Webber and some experience there, and that improved. This year, you brought in new attack coaches, Di Flanagan. Is that something from last season that you felt really needed some development for this year?
No, Di's arrival only came about because Kev decided that it was time for him to go and do something else, having spent 30 years in the one institution. Kev was a great player and a great coach for this club for such a long time. Did a wonderful job. I enjoyed working with him. But Kev's had decided at the end of last season that he wanted to do something different, and now he's going to work for the RFU, which is, we're delighted that he's got that. But I suppose our decision when Kev decided that was going to be the case was, did we promote from within because we had some outstanding candidates in the building, or did we take the opportunity to bring a new person in, bring some new ideas in, a new personality in? Overall, we thought that was the right thing to do. And we're delighted that Guy has come in and he's hit the ground running, and he's got some fresh ideas for us to think about. He's provoked a lot of thinking. He's got a different manner and way about him as well. So I've really enjoyed a lot of the relationships that have been built over the clubs over a long period of time, but it is energising sometimes to bring someone from the outside.
And of course, the other big change at the start of last season was Maro stepping up and becoming skipper. And he's had what has to be said, a pretty spectacular season, as he not only club captain, but country captain and captain of the British Lions. I mean, how pleased are you with his development as a leader, as opposed to, we know he's a great player, but as a leader, how do you think he developed?
I guess probably nothing Maro does surprises any of us anymore. He tends to be one of those people who steps up and steps into whatever he goes into next. Maro did a great job at club level last year. Like you said, he was particularly busy because once Steve Borthwick decided that he wanted to make a change of captain and the England set up, Maro looked after them for the Six Nations, and he's had a tremendously busy summer. But I think Maro's very clear on how he leads best, and that's on the field, from the front, by example. And he's done that for club, for country, and for Lions as well.
Yeah, it's fabulous. And I imagine he's coming back with huge amounts of confidence after, particularly the British Lions, that can only exude through the squad as well, I suppose.
Yeah, let's hope so. I got to say, the shame for the fans and to everybody is that the calendar doesn't accommodate these players being available for the start of the season, and it's don't talk to me about how they can't come up with a season. But I think we all want to start the season with our best players playing, but it's not the case this year. But Maro, Jamie, and Ben are back into training with us now, and they'll be available in 3 or 4 weeks' time.
Well, of course, part of that is over the summer there's been a level of recruitment. We've brought back players who were part of the club previously, and you've also brought in some new players. Let's talk about the new players to the club first. So players like the likes of Marcus Street who've come in from Exeter. What were you looking for as a group for players to come into the Saracens and set up, and what did you feel you needed, and how are these players going to provide that?
Just firstly, going back to what I said earlier on, when we're in the process of building what we hope will be the next team for a long time, we don't want to be making multiple changes to that group every year. That's not a journey to success in our view and our experience. So we wanted to keep changes to a minimum. We wanted to add people who we thought could add to the team and add to the club and add to the group. Yeah, the front row was one of those areas where there was the opportunity to do that, with Fraser moving on, and Marcus is 26. He's got a lot of Premiership experience under his belt. He's got the hunger you need. So we were very keen to have him along. Obviously, 2 of the 5 new signings we've made are Saracens players, in Max and Owen, who know the DNA of the club and know a lot of the lads, but not all of them, because the team's changed quite a lot in the last 24 months. So yeah, the strategy is, if we can, to keep this group together for as long as we can. We've got a brilliant age profile, some really outstanding talent and outstanding character in that group, and they just need to have time together and share experiences on the field together. And I see if we can do that.
Well, it's interesting you say that as well. I mean, obviously, I remember the final when Max was off to Bristol, and there was the video, and you spoke to the team after the final, and I remember you saying something along the lines of, the door will never close, Max. And, is he a player that you looked at and thought, I don't want him to go, but he's gone off, he's got different experiences, but when he became available, like when Owen became available, that say, yeah, we'd like to have them as part of our organisation again.
Yeah, Max is a great person, first of all. On the field, he brings positional flexibility. He can play a number of positions. I think what is different this time around is I think he's a leader. He's going to be co-captain tomorrow night. He probably didn't have that ability. He had the ability, but he didn't have that opportunity, before, because there were so many that he didn't need to, and he didn't have the opportunity to. But now he's coming into a younger backline. Our academy are doing a wonderful job at the moment at bringing through unearthing some serious talent, and a lot of them are playing in the Prem Cup at the moment. We had Noah last week, who's 18, Jack Bracken and Angus Hall last year, around the age of 20 now, and Max Mills and people like Elliot Daly can really help them on their journey, understanding what it takes to play high level back three. That's great to have Max back.
And presumably that's the same with Owen, and the fact that you've got Fergus and Louis, two really good young fly halves that they can only learn from someone with Owen's qualities and help them develop. I believe that Owen was in conversation with Louis anyway last season, regularly anyway, wasn't he?
Yeah, when Louis knew he was coming to the club, the first he reached out to was Owen, and when they developed a relationship while Owen was over in Paris and talked regularly. So that shows a lot of maturity on Louis' part, and a lot of, I don't know what the word is, on Owen's part, but what I've observed since Owen's come back is just how much time he's spending with those two players, but also other younger players, and so generous with his time. Like, everybody knows he's got great wisdom to give to those players, and he's also unselfish enough to want to help. And when he sees a young player who wants to learn and wants to get better, he'll always give his time, and we've noticed that massively since he's come back.
And that's something that you get through the club as well. I mean, you'll see that obviously Jamie George, he learned from Charles Pritz. He's now passing on to Theo Dan and other horses throughout the club. Is that something you pride yourself on, being able to identify these players that develop the newer players coming along as much as anything else?
I do think it's a responsibility of those players who have been helped to help. And the examples that you use, I've talked about Owen, but Jamie George couldn't be better with not just Theo, but all the young forwards, because his knowledge is not just as a hooker, but it's much more wide than that. And he's one of the wisest players you'll come across. He understands what it takes to get to the highest level and some of the sacrifices that are needed. And yeah, again, like Owen, he's incredibly generous in his time.
The other question I was going to ask is about you personally as well, because actually, if you look at your record as a coach and a director of rugby, and you look at the world of rugby, and you've got Andy Farrell, who worked with you, who's now coach of Ireland and British Lions, Steve Borthwick, Richard Wigglesworth, you had Paul Gustard, who's been coaching everything. Do you see as part of your role to identify those people who are going to go on and become coaches? And how much pride do you take knowing that you've had a bit of influence in so many people's careers throughout the rugby world?
I think the club should take pride. As you said, you mentioned Andy, Guzzy, Steve, Wiggy, Al Sanderson, who you didn't mention, but also you've got Phil Morrow looking after England now as their head of performance. You've got Andy Edwards, who was under Phil Morrow, now looking after South Africa. So I think just across the board, the club can take a lot of pride that in the last 15 years or so, we've had people who started their journeys with us and have gone on to flourish and be as good as they are and have been snapped up for big jobs around the world. The club should be very proud of that.
And I mean, you've been in this job now, 15, 16 years? 17 years. What gets Mark McCall up in the morning? What gets you infused after 17 years? Do you see it as like a block of years that you want to plan? We talked about the young players that are coming through and you're developing and that you feel there's something special. How does it infuse you every day to keep on doing and be the director of rugby that you are?
Well, it's just the people. That's always been the people, because you want to go into a workplace and feel stimulated and you want to feel fulfilled. You want to feel supported. That's been the case since I've been at the club. Like I said earlier on, I think that there's some relationships I've had for the whole time. Like Dan Vickers has been there every he is there before me. So sort of building those long-term relationships based on loyalty and trust are absolutely massively important. But the energising bit is to have some of the young lads coming through who were 2 years old when you arrived at the club. It makes you feel old. But it's just the people, honestly, because like you want to go in and enjoy your day. You want to enjoy your week. You want to work with people who are pulling in the same direction. And for as long as that continues, and there's no reason not to enjoy it, to be honest. So to the people, yeah.
So let's go back to this season. What do you see this season being for Saracens? Is there any lines in the sand that you want to achieve, or is it a case of we're just keeping on this development, and what comes around may come around, or whatever? Last season we didn't get to go to a final, which for some Saracens fans is something that they've never experienced. And that will have its own levels. I think sometimes we have to, as fans, got to manage our own expectations. But I mean, what expectations do you have for this 2025-26 season?
I think it's the way you described the question there. I think it's foolish to, certainly for me anyway, to determine success based on what you just described. I remember in 2015, which was a big change year as well. We had lost those two finals in 2014 back-to-back. And in 2015, we had a new group who were very much of the age profile of this group, with McCall and Owen and Jamie and George Crew and Will Fraser, and that cohort of players who were in there for 23, 24, 25. And then we knew if we kept them together that we could do something. We won that final that year, but we came fourth.
Yeah.
And we get in by the skin of our teeth, and at beating London Welsh by more points than Exeter beat whoever they had to beat in the last game of the season. And last year we were one decision away from being third. If we had beaten Northampton that day, we would have been third. So I think it's foolish to base your judgment on where you finish. So for the second year of our journey with this new team, if the workplace is somewhere everybody feels that they can flourish in and thrive in, if we are clear on how we want to play, clear on the standards that we need, but have incredible support for each other, then that'll be good enough for me, because I think everything will flow off the back of it.
Well, it's right we say, isn't it? I think, if you get things right, the rewards will come regardless, won't they? And that's what certainly us on the Fezcast have seen, that transition. I suppose it's more evolution as opposed to revolution. Is that a fair comment to make?
Well, like I said to you, we're trying to build a team that lasts for a while, like the 2015 team did. And we know that takes a little bit of time, but if you want to build something good and you want to build something sustainable, you've got to be prepared to go through some tough experiences and keep pulling in the same direction when those tough experiences, to learn from them, be open to learning. From what I've seen, this group have been massively open to learning from the mistakes we've all made in the last 12, 14 months. And if we can continue to do that, we'll improve.
Well, I certainly see that. Mark, I'll say thank you for doing the interview with me. Before we finish up, though, is there anything else you'd like to say to the fans? You've got the forum here to speak to the fans who come in every week to the StoneX, or wave the flags and wave the scarves and everything. Is there a message from the top that you would like to give to the guys who follow Saracens week in, week out?
Just how thankful I am, and how thankful I know the players are. It means a lot to the players when this place is bouncing, and we know we've got through the loyal fans who are here all of the time, and hopefully we can add to that and have this place is full as many weeks as possible. I think there's a good product on the field. I think there's some great players to come and watch, and we thank you for your loyalty.
Well, we thank you, Mark, for coming on and speaking to us on the Fezcast, but also for the years of enjoyment and success, whichever way it manifests itself, that we've all enjoyed here at StoneX, and long may it continue. And we're really looking forward to this season. And from us on the Fezcast, I hope you have a great season with
Thank you. Been a pleasure.
Cheers. Thank you very much.
This is the Fezcast.
Right, well, that just about concludes it for this week on the Fezcast. Thank you very much for joining us. Matt, thank you for your time on this Monday evening. You've now got to go away and edit the show, I believe, now.
Yeah, I've actually got to edit it and listen to the bits that neither you or I have actually heard yet, which would be quite interesting. Yeah, Mark McCall could have said absolutely anything, and we don't know about it yet.
He could have done. For all we know, Jez might finally be given that option to make an appearance for Saracens at number 8. You never know.
Do you know what? One thing we didn't mention was in the women's game, we had Liz Craik, who is a loose-head prop, had to fill in at number 8 for part of the game and scored one of the tries by controlling the ball from a 5 metre scrum with her feet and plonking it over the line. So clearly, playing number 8 is the easiest role in rugby. So all of Jez's chat, nah.
Well, yeah, I mean, the only difference between a prop and a number 8 is going to be about 12 inches in height, isn't it, really? I mean, that's going to be about the only thing. They're all going to have that same skill set. So, yeah, forwards are forwards. But please do join us next week on the Fezcast for our episode, which will be out on the 1st of October, into October already, where we'll obviously review the Saracens men's game at the start of the... it's called the Prem now, isn't it? Mustn't call it anything else. At the start of the Prem away to Newcastle, where hopefully we won't be coming up against Liam Williams. We'll also have a report on the Rugby World Cup, which Matt will be at, and we'll pick up anything that have a reaction to Jez's chat with Mark McCall. But that's about it for this week. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next week on the Fezcast.
Cheers all.
This is the Fezcast.